My dad was a man of integrity. He was a very humble man who always put others above himself. He never looked at himself as needing anything. He was always willing to give. He always put God first and then family, and OGH was family.
Johnny Clary was working running the lab, which was a very small operation at that time. Johnny was the lab tech. One of the first things that I recall that Johnny did that was very meaningful about it was to start a walking blood bank. And what that entailed was people from the Knights of Columbus that volunteered to have their type and RH done and would be willing to respond if we called them and needed that specific type of blood,
My dad's work here at Opulus General was everything. It was, my entire life, that's where he worked. He started here when the hospital opened. In the early days, the lab and the hospital at that time being so small, the lab was not open 24 hours a day. And it was basically a 1, then 2, then 3-man operation with Dad, Mr. Gene Fisher, and Mr. Howard Gilry. When his pager went off or the phone rang, he had to go. He was definitely a dedicated employee.
Dad was here in the beginning, when the hospital started. Anything that he could do to get people here at the hospital, because it was a family for him here too. Everybody that he worked with here and started with. And at home, we just, it was just part of life. Things that went on here at the hospital was just things that went on at the house too, But he had the line that he drew, and it just, worked out well for all of us, I guess.
We always had this situation where we always said we had each other's back. And on his last day that he worked over here when he retired, we took a picture with our hands across and we said, always back to back. So I've been here almost 36 years, so I stayed, and I've been enjoying my tenure here.
I was fortunate enough to grow up next to the Clarys, 2 doors down. I was good friends with Mr. John Clary and his whole family. Actually, his son Chuck and I are best friends from day one. Mr. Clary was a very dedicated man to his profession. He spent countless hours building the lab here at the hospital and was always here at the hospital both day and night. He wasn't really around in the neighborhood as much as a lot of the dads, and at that time I didn't understand why, but I think he spent all of his time actually building up this hospital lab and making it what it is today.
He was a very compassionate person that he was always trying to help people. He went out of his way to help you out. People would come in the door and they would want to know how much the test is going to cost. And he'd say, well, don't worry about the cost. We'll get it done. And if you can pay $5, that's fine. If you can pay $10, he was a very caring and inspiring individual.
My name is Brian Dindy. John Clary was my grandfather, and I'm honored to be able to say a few words from Tokyo, Japan, my duty station. I remember that my grandfather was a hardworking man, and his passion for work and for public speaking, I try to hopefully emulate those in my own life, seeing how much he was able to accomplish.
I'm Ronnie Patchett, and I was an associate of John Clary's for up to 40 years. And all I can say is he was one active man. He joined everything, and everywhere he went, he expounded Opulus General. He stood for Opulus General, whether he was in the Toastmasters or Rotary Club or working out at the gym. That's who he was.
I'd like to thank Opelousas General Health System for honoring my father with this award. And on behalf of the Clary family, we'd like to thank Opelousas General Health System for this honor of inducting our father into the Hall of Fame.